Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Salinas, and today I'll be talking about a really important and timely issue, cyber harassment, especially how it affects both students and teachers. We'll take a look at two real-life cases and explore some tough ethical questions around them, while tying in ideas from ethics theory and what we can do to respond more thoughtfully in digital spaces. Let's start with the basics. Cyberbullying is a type of bullying that happens through digital devices, phones, computers, social media, text, and apps. It usually involves repeated behavior that's meant to shame, scare, or upset someone. What makes it worse is it can happen anytime, anywhere, and it's often public, which makes the harm even more lasting. One heartbreaking example is the story of Tyler Clementi. He was an 18-year-old college freshman at Rutgers University. His roommate secretly recorded a private moment between Tyler and another man and streamed it online. Not long after this invasion of privacy, Tyler tragically took his own life. His mother, Jane Clementi, became an advocate for digital kindness. She reminds us that our words online have the power to either help or hurt, and that young people need to understand that actions in the digital world still have real consequences. Another case that's interesting and complicated happened in Mexico. A middle school teacher named Adalia Hernandez found out one of her students had tweeted very crude comments about her online. Understandably hurt and angry, she confronted the student in class during a lesson on digital behavior. She recorded the moment and posted it online. Now, some people supported her for standing up for herself, but others argued that she crossed the line, especially by posting a video and publicly shaming not just one but two minors. Here is the clip from that recording.
Me da el derecho de faltarte al respeto a ti en una red social y llamarte de la forma en la que tú me estás llamando. También estoy molesta, María. Muy molesta. Y creo que aquí tengo una cámara y acá hay otra. Hay otra. Y así como mi familia vio eso, Marina, delante de las cámaras, te vas a disculpar conmigo. Aquí, delante de las cámaras.
Cometí un error porque la maestra no me dice que yo me haya dicho así.
Desde el jueves, una vez. ¿Por qué lo compartiste, Grimaldo? ¿Qué te pareció muy gracioso que tu compañera me faltara el respeto así? ¿Te parece gracioso estar hablando de tus compañeros? Porque ya leí todo lo que hablan de tus compañeros. Porque los que no tienen Twitter, entérense, aquí tenemos personas que...
So, as you can see there, it shows her not only calling out the student that posted the comments online, as well as another student that shared those comments. This brings us to one of the biggest questions. Did Ms. Hernandez go too far? From a deontological perspective, that's an ethical theory focused on duties and roles. Her job as a teacher includes protecting student privacy and maintaining professionalism. By publicly calling out the student and posting the video, she may have broken the responsibilities. From a virtue ethics point of view, which looks at character, a good teacher should act with patience and integrity, even when provoked. So even though she was hurt, retaliating like this could be seen as unethical. On the other hand, what about the student's actions? According to utilitarianism, which looks at the outcome, some form of discipline might be needed to prevent this kind of behavior from happening again. But at the same time, restorative justice is another helpful framework. It's about helping the student understand the harm they caused and making things right, instead of just punishing them. Maybe a guided apology or reflective assignment would have done more to change behavior than suspension or public exposure. Now, who is the victim? Both the teacher and the student were harmed. The teacher was attacked online, which could affect her career and mental health, but the student who was also publicly embarrassed by someone in a position of power. When we look at moral equivalence, which compares the weight of each person's actions, it's clear that even though the student started it, the teacher's response might have caused more lasting damage, especially because she had more authority. Do victims have right to defend themselves, and what reporting doesn't help? Of course, victims have the right to stand up for themselves, but how they do it matters. Ethical responses need to be proportional. If someone insults you, you don't respond by doing something that could harm them long term, especially if you're in a position of authority. The idea of escalation of commitment is important here. Once things escalate, both parties can end up hurt more deeply. Compassion and the role of judging others. One thing I really believe in and think we could all use more of is compassion. Ethical judgment shouldn't just be about who's right and who's wrong. Compassion helps us ask, why did this happen? What's going on in someone's life that made them act this way? When we lead with compassion, along with integrity, responsibility, and forgiveness, we get closer to real solutions. Sometimes we excuse bad behavior because of someone's background. We might say, they're just a kid, or that's how boys are. We might even blame mental health or say, that's just how their culture works. But while these factors help us understand where someone's coming from, they shouldn't completely erase accountability. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, but growth only happens when we hold people responsible in fair, understanding ways. Cyberbullying and in-person bullying have a lot in common. Both involve repeated harm and aggression, but cyberbullying is different because it's often anonymous, it can happen at any time, and it's harder to escape. The audience is bigger, and the effects can last forever if it goes viral. That's what makes digital harassment so dangerous. The target doesn't even get to have a safe space to breathe. If you've ever known someone who was bullied online, or if it's happened to you, you know how isolating it can feel. Sometimes people don't take it seriously because there are no physical bruises, but the emotional scars can be just as deep, if not worse. Here I am showing an example of a personal experience myself and my family endured. My grandmother passed away this past year, and her husband at the time, they both lived in a different city than my family. When we tried to obtain my grandmother's things after she passed, we were harassed by her family on both social media as well as through text messages and emails. It took lawyers and a lot of time to get my grandmother's remaining things, and the person that affected the most was my mother, who was constantly harassed by this family, and they said some horrible things about my grandmother and my mother publicly online that can't be erased. I took this screenshot of this post just 2 days ago showing how long these things can stay online. So what can schools do? First, they need clear policies that spell out what's okay online and what's not. Second, digital literacy needs to be a part of everyday lessons. It's not just about how to use tech, it's about how to use it responsibly. And finally, schools need support systems, counseling, peer mediation, restorative justice. All of these things can help heal harm and stop it from happening again. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this presentation gave you something to think about, not just about cyber harassment, but about how we respond to each other when things go wrong online. Ethics isn't just about rules, it's about how we treat people when no one's watching. Thank you for your time. On the following slide, you will see all of my resources for this information if you would like to look into it further. Have a great day.